we're getting into the ninja level of mindset mastery where this is possible, and this is a trait that I see in people who succeed and thrive. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to the Confident Dancer YouTube channel. Speaking of confidence, insecurities seem to be the nemesis of the process to growing confidence. So I thought today I would make a video addressing the topic of insecurities head on and giving you some tips on how to overcome insecurities as a dancer. This is an extremely important thing to work on within yourself, and it has a lot to do with your mindset. And that's why a lot of people say that ballet or dance is so mentally challenging, and it's just as much a mental game as it is physical. Because if you have insecurities, you really don't need me to remind you of this, I'm sure, but it takes away your focus. It drains you of your joy, your light, your spark that makes you artistically interesting. It can cause you to focus on everything that's wrong with you instead of what's right with you. It can cause you to shrink and crumble under pressure or think you belong in the back of the room instead of presenting yourself at the front for opportunities. Or even just having the thrill of sharing your joy of dance with people who would love to share that with you and see that and feel that from you. And they can't really feel that so well if you're hiding away in the back and thinking you have nothing to offer. I also see insecurities really impacting ballet culture in a way that's very sad to me, which is that I see dancers constantly speaking about themselves in such destructive ways and constantly criticizing themselves in front of other dancers, which creates this culture in which we learn to fit in by complaining about ourselves, by pointing out what's wrong. We learn that it's so normal to wear your insecurities on your sleeve and talk about them all the time and self-deprecate just to fit in with other people or do what they're doing, or to put yourself lower so that other people feel okay. Let's please stop doing that. I've really made some videos at length about the topic before, and I think overcoming our own insecurities is really important, obviously, for our own mental health and thriving, but also I think it's important to do for the community at large. I believe that a confident person, if you have authentic, healthy confidence, which is not the same thing as arrogance, there are so many misconceptions about that I'm constantly trying to debunk. But if you choose to have a healthy relationship with yourself and a healthy assessment of what you can do and what you're working on, I think it leads to presenting yourself in a way that is an example to other people that they can also be kind to themselves. They can also accept themselves and be proud and celebrate what they're doing well. And so I think doing this inner work, I really do believe that it's so great to do for yourself, and when you do it, you are a part of a greater ripple effect within the dance community that is creating just a healthier space for other dancers to grow up and thrive and not learn to be so hard on themselves. So if it's not motivating enough to do this for yourself, do it for the community at large, but also do it for yourself because you deserve it. My number one tip, well, not number one like in importance, but the first one I'll mention is just remember that whatever you're fixating on as being such a problem, it is very likely that no one thinks it's as big of a deal as you do. Even if you get corrections about it a lot, you get comments, even if it seems to be the reason why you don't get into that program or get that part, I think we can develop this relationship with our flaws and the things that we're insecure about. And instead of looking at them for what they are, which is just an opportunity for growth or a reminder of our humanity, which is a call to humility. And that's all good. By the way, humility is not self-deprecation. Those are not the same things. Let's not get that twisted. Humility is freeing. Humility is saying, you know what? I'm going to have an accurate assessment with myself where I allow imperfections to be there because that is what it is to be human. I allow myself to be just as important as everyone else, no more, no less, rather than treating yourself like trash, but you treat other people kindly. Like, that's not kindness towards yourself. So anyway, my point here is we can really develop this relationship with the things that we're insecure about and attach more of a story to it. Like, this is the reason why I'm never good enough. This is the reason why I can't get to where I want to go. And what if you just allowed it to be more neutral? You allowed it to be just what it is. This is how you're dancing right now. It doesn't need to mean anything about your future just because it's been your past. It doesn't have to be the reason that you look at yourself every day and don't like yourself, or that you don't believe in the future you want to have. You can just see it as, this is something that I am naturally inclined to think is a really, really big deal. Chances are other people see qualities in me that are bigger than this one thing I'm fixating on. So it's great to talk to other people and to even ask friends, like, what qualities do you see in my dancing that are good, that I can work on and increase, rather than just like this one flaw that I'm fixating on is the biggest deal ever. So remembering that probably no one thinks it's as big a deal as you, and we don't need to create this big story around it. It's just an area of growth. That's okay. I think that already sets the tone for just being more at ease. Number 2, sometimes we have something that we're insecure about that we can change. Cool. Sometimes we're insecure about something that is not going to change in our body, in our life. If you can't change it, own it. Okay? Own it. Accept it. And I know people are like, oh, so much easier said than done. Sure, but let's not pretend it's so impossible. Like, I think it's really, really important to look at the things that are not going to change. And instead of acting like that's so bad, embrace it and seek to own it. Like, for example, as a teenager, I used to be so insecure about how turned in I was. I would just see every video of me dancing and be like, I'm so turned in. I would cry after ballet class of frustration because I was just like twisting, trying to crank my feet, but my hips didn't want to go there. I would be so humiliated when teachers would see me forcing my turnout and say, no, you should really do a fifth like this because that's all you naturally have. I felt like a failure. I felt like a loser. I was very insecure about it. And every time I would audition, I would try so hard to hide it. I would try so hard to crank it as if I could hide it. Finally, at around 17 or 18 years old, I finally accepted turnout doesn't have to be my thing. And I just looked at, what does my personal best turnout look like? And is it at an okay level? Great. I'm going to just say, okay is okay. And I learned how to turn out differently. I learned proper placement and things like that. I learned about my anatomy, and I realized that there were going to be some companies out there that my turnout is just not good enough for. And I'm not going to dance for those companies because these are the hips God gave me and they're just not going to go any further. Okay, I accepted. I'm never going to do the middle splits. That's not a limiting belief. My hips are just not designed to do that. But how often do you need to go on stage and do the middle splits? Okay, like, I faked it enough before. I can do it. When I accepted that and I just said, I'm going to own it, that frees my mental space to stop fixating on something that's not going to change so that I can actually focus on what I can do, what I can change. And my progression in my technique and my confidence really moved a lot further forward after that because I freed myself. I did not realize how much of my time, energy, and brain space I was giving to something that wasn't going to change. And yes, there were things that I could do to optimize my turnout. I did those, and after I knew I did them, okay. And I accepted that some teachers were not going to like me because my feet don't go like that without hurting my knees. So I just accepted it. But I also did accept that there were some people, some teachers and companies that were going to embrace that. And it was true. Hey friend, hold on. I have a very worthy reason why I'm pausing this video right now. And it's to share an exciting announcement with you. As you might know, I've been a mindset coach for dancers for the last 4 years, and I've only worked with dancers individually. And after all this time, I am finally opening up a group coaching program. So this will be opening in January, and it's called the Confident Dancer Collective. The reason why I'm so excited to share this with you is because I want to open up these doors to provide a bigger opportunity for impact in the dance community. I want, for those of you who love learning in a group setting, you love connecting with like-minded dancers, and you're a dancer who identifies with being tired of self-doubt and insecurities and fears, and just being in your head and all that getting in your way of feeling and dancing your best, then this program is for you. Alongside a group of other dancers who are excited to transform in this way, you will get to go through my signature 6 steps for building confidence. You'll get opportunities to connect with other dancers over Zoom, hear teachings from me every week. I'll be facilitating group discussions, walking you through the implementation process of this framework that I created, and you will, by the end of it, have everything you need to step into having a healthy mindset, rooted in confidence, feeling like you are truly a confident dancer, and being able to feel and perform your best consistently. So if that sounds like what you've been looking for, click the link in the description to go to theconfidentdancer.com. You'll be able to learn all about the details of this program, what it includes, when it starts, all that good stuff. It includes a lot. So definitely go check it out, and you can go ahead and join the waitlist now to make sure that you are one of the first to enroll when enrollment opens December 14th. And it ends the 23rd. So in December, I hope you will be joining me, enrolling, and getting ready the first week of January to start the year off right and really making this your year to feel like you are the confident dancer that you want to be. So join me, click the link in the description to learn more, join the wait list, and I'm excited to work with you. So let's get on with the rest of the video. Point number 3 is that if something you're insecure about is something that can change, then instead of approaching it from a place of judgment or hatred even, that we can honestly get into self-loathing about it sometimes as dancers. We can have such negative energy that we project towards a body part or towards the shape of our body or something about ourselves, and we can spend so much energy trying to fix it from a place of frustration and anger and judgment. And it's not going to move you forward nearly as fast as if you were to shift your mindset and approach improvement from a place of love, understanding, patience, compassion, belief. Treat yourself and treat that area that you can change and want to change like you would, approach it like you would treating someone else and walking them through their improvement process. You would want to remind them you can do this. You would want to remind them you have what it takes. Just give yourself time. You would want to, instead of screaming at them and being really mean and saying, why did you do that? You would want to give them suggestions for how they can do it. So treat yourself that way. And I promise you, the more you choose to have that more empowering, kind, loving, light self-talk, where it's like, it's okay, you know, made a mistake, no worries, it's okay, you got this. The more you practice being on your own team in your head, you're going to notice that your energy around that insecurity shifts, and it will make it so much easier to make the progress when you approach it with that mindset. So if you can change it, approach it with kindness and belief and positive self-talk, and it will be so much better for you. Point number 4, we're getting into the ninja level of mindset mastery, where this is possible, and this is a trait that I see in people who succeed and thrive. It is a consistent trait that I've seen. And this is also a consistent trait in people that we see as heroic, that we admire. We honestly do not tend to treat or admire people the same way if we have this perception that they had it easy, everything was perfect. We tend to admire people more when we know they came from a challenge, don't we? Right? We do. We see them as being more admirable and heroic in some way for having the challenge and being where they're at now. And it's often the people who turn their mess into a success that they end up being motivational speakers. When I've gotten trained as a professional speaker, I learned that that is a literal pattern. It is a strategy people use as they speak, as motivational speakers, to talk about their mess to success stories. You hear all these motivational speakers talking, they share what's called a mess to success. They don't hide that they came from a challenge. They use it, they transform it into something that becomes their superpower. Now, here's how that can play out for us as dancers. If you take the thing that you're insecure about, let's say, for example, for me, it was my turnout. I have all the reasons in the world to look at my struggle with turnout and say, Why did I feel like I have this passion for dance, yet I wasn't given the body in life that could have that perfect turnout? And because I didn't have the perfect turnout, and because I didn't have the perfect training when I was younger, I forced my turnout, I had repetitive knee injuries, and because my knee injuries kept coming back, they kept getting worse, and that's eventually what ended my career. Woe is me. There's no good news in that. I could literally sit here and tell that story to myself, but you know what? It's a much better use of my life and energy that I much prefer. Once I did that step that I shared with you, just owning that there's a certain level where my turnout isn't going to change. So instead, I didn't just do that one step of owning it. I also realized that the struggles with turnout led me to be so much more analytical in my technique. I sought from a young age to understand anatomy, to understand how things work. I wasn't getting the instruction I needed as a teenager to help me turn out well, so I would think about it. I would look in the mirror. I would give myself feedback. I was working with myself. I was figuring it out myself. And though ultimately I did need teachers' help to get me all the way there into a professional career, the resources I needed to build up within myself to learn those things and to practice that work ethic made me a much better teacher. Now, I know a lot of you have heard that before, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be a dance teacher, so that's not good news to me. Well, get this, it made me a better dancer. It made me a much more confident dancer. Having been through the mental struggles I went through around that and the insecurities, it led me to realize the power of my own mind by realizing the power of self-talk. I realized how critical and mean I used to be about my turnout. And from a young age, I started to see the power of being kind to myself. And that transformed the level of confidence that I had even from a younger age. Because I was a confident dancer, not because I was the best, but because I started to do this mindset work on my own before I even read a self-help book, before I even knew what I was doing. I just started to kind of stumble in this direction of learning the power of the mind. Again, that made me a confident dancer. I would get that feedback a lot. I tell my story a lot. There were times where that really went down and I was extremely insecure, but when it came back up, that is what I started to be known for. What was once coming from a challenge became the seed that became one strength that I was known for, even as a dancer. And then even that struggle that I went through and all the things that were related to it ended up planting seeds that became the career I have now, which I love. I love my life. And I used to think it would be so miserable to not be a professional dancer anymore. And I'm not unique in this, you guys. I just tried to share that example, just say that you might think there's something that is just so wrong with you. And it's something that's happened to you and it's bad. And yeah, it's okay to be upset, and there are very unfair things that happen in this world, absolutely, and you can be upset about it, that's okay. But ask yourself, how could this actually help me to be better? How could I actually transform the way I think about this insecurity to be something that is my hero's journey? It is my mess to success. And I know people and friends I have now who, like, they all have a mess to success journey that they can tell the story of. And, you know, I have several. We all can have several. So look at your insecurities in that way and see how even your greatest challenge can become one of your greatest assets, or it can help you to develop an asset that becomes your greatest asset. The last point is to just realize and remember that there is no such thing as arriving. We can have this sense of this implicit promise in our own minds, like, if I just didn't struggle with this thing, I would be happy. If I just fixed my body to look different, and if I went against what my genetic code is and I looked different, then I would be happy. Then I would have the life I want. Then I would be in this company. No. Sometimes I do genuinely believe that the things that are our greatest challenges and our insecurities are there to help develop us, teach us, grow in humility, grow in real confidence, which does not come with perfection. It comes with realizing all that you are and all the mixed bag that is, and owning it. You know, that's one facet of it. And so since there's no arrival, there's no perfection, don't wait until you're on the other side of that insecurity to start living your life and appreciating it. I made another video that is titled "What You're Working For Is Happening Now." I would highly recommend watching that because, yeah, your life is happening right now. So by displacing your happiness and putting it on the other side of fixing this thing you're insecure about, you are then creating kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where you're going to constantly put your happiness at an arm's length. You're putting it by choice on the other side of this thing that may or may not change. And so instead, remember that you have the power to put it back in your hands. You have the power to own what you are now. Practice acceptance, self-acceptance, kindness, humility, self-compassion, and real confidence that, again, is not reliant on perfection. I talk a lot about that. I work with dancers to help develop that. That would be like 500 other videos to describe to you that process of confidence. But just by realizing it, I know you can work towards it. So anyway, I'll leave this video there. I hope that this has been extremely encouraging to you. I would love to know what you think of it, what stood out to you, and I hope you'll stick around, like, and subscribe because I'll be back with another video next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.